This afternoon on the marketplace, we place our focus on the cedi as it reached dreaded 6 cedi to the dollar across the boards of forex bureaus in the country. Also, we shall be having an expert analysis on this development moving forward. Also coming up in the bulletin, Ghana has been ranked as, that's Africa's fastest internet connectivity hub in the whole of the continent. We have details and reactions from digital entrepreneur and expert from CATS International. Plus, Liberia's President Joe Howard Taylor speaks to Joy Business on trade ties with Ghana and entrepreneurs. Stay tuned for this exclusive interview.
The face of Africa that is considered the strong iron lady that they call her, that she proved what it was, what it took to transform. And that can be related to family setting, community setting, business setting, the traits that she lived and that we saw.
Hello and welcome, I'm Charles Ayete. Social media has been awash with screenshots of the cedi making a further depreciation in value against the dollar, selling at 6 cedis per dollar. Now, Fish Solutions research arm of ratings agency and data bank research are forecasting slightly different end-of-year rate of the cedi to the dollar, as most forex bureaus are now selling the local currency at 6 cedis to a dollar, whilst Fish Solutions are projecting a 6 cedi 32 pesos for a dollar by the end of the year. Data bank research is predicting a 6 cedi 14 pesos, about 3 percentage points depreciation. Charles Nixon has more in this report.
Joy Business is learning that the Forex Bureau began selling the local currency at 6 cedis to a dollar almost 1 month ago, though it is going for about 5 cedis 94 pesos on the interbank Forex market. This is because demand for the American currency has shot up. However, the pricing could have even been higher, but for the intervention of the Bank of Ghana, whose bi-weekly Forex forward auction has aided the supply of dollars to the market to meet the rising demand. Despite all this, the cedi has lost only about 0.6%. Despite all this, the cedi has lost only about 0.6% so far this year, according to the central bank. Most analysts believe the outlook is promising despite the recent pressures. This is largely because of the expected improved export, strong international reserves, and the upcoming cocoa board syndication in September this year. Meanwhile, Fitch is attributing the rebound of the global economy as the rationale behind its end-year cedi to dollar rate of 6 cedis 32 pesos, a little above 4% depreciation. Data Bank on the other hand said the recent portfolio induced pressure tempered with its earlier optimism. However, it believes the cedi should remain supported by the country's gross forex reserves of about $10.99 billion.
Well, let's bring in Courage Boti of Data Bank and economist. Courage, many thanks for joining us. This is a developing story. Explain to us what exactly is happening on Ghana's forex market. If you could kindly unmute your microphone so we could hear you better, Courage.
Sure. Good afternoon to your listeners. I think the cedi story this year has been a good one, largely until midway through June, where we've seen depreciation pressure starting to set in again. We've seen the cedi appreciate from the start of the year to, I think, around 0.58% appreciation. The driving factors so far have been, at the start of the year, we saw that with the extremely very accommodative monetary policy environment in the external markets, offshore investors found favor in emerging and frontier markets like Ghana, where uptake for our local bonds were so high, and we saw a lot of volumes driven on the secondary bond market also by this offshore participant. What this did was that it brought a lot of forex into the system, which supported the cedi to the early year appreciation that we saw. And that actually lasted through the first quarter and in most part of the second quarter. But with now growth momentum gathering pace in the advanced market, and there is the increasing risk of inflation in the US and most of the major markets, which has triggered the talk of tapering on asset purchase program for the US Treasury, and then of course many other central banks and then fiscal authorities out there, we realize that there is some increasing risk aversion triggering sell-offs in recent weeks. And so we saw from 21st June all the way till now that rates on the bond market has been going because offshore participants are selling off and then moving into U.S. destinations where there is anticipation that rates will pick up soon. And that is what is driving the trend now. But as we are now, depreciation rate is still very reasonable. And then that is where we are projecting based on the trend we've seen so far. And then the fact that we have reserve levels that is covering, over 5 months of import cover, which hasn't been the case in a lot of times past. We have a lot of cushion to support the cedi for the rest of the year. And that is why we do not envisage extreme depreciation beyond, say, 3% for 2021.
Courage, I wanted to hold on to your thoughts there because we're also joined by a player in the Forex market, Benjamin Apai, who joins us via phone. Benjamin, you trade in Forex. What is the cedi to dollar exchange rate as we speak?
Well, the rate is, thank you once again. The rate is 5.9 and 6 cedis for buying and selling respectively, as at now.
So you're currently buying and selling at 6 cedis?
It's going for 5.9 and 6 cedis for buying and selling respectively.
Well, our checks at the various interbank market quoted by the Bank of Ghana shows that they're selling at 5.9, so rightly stated on the average. But there are concerns about the 6 cedi, sale of the cedi to the dollar.
Well, with the Forex, it's like the retail part. It's based on demand and supply. So when the price of the demand would depend on the price of the supply. So we take it at 5.9 and we sell it at 6 cedis. That's for the Forex bureaus. For the banks, maybe they get their dollars from the central bank and co. But for the Forex bureaus, for them, they get it from the market. That's why it goes that way.
So for how long have we been selling it at 6 cedis?
Well, it started, let's say, it's almost a month because it started the 2nd of this month. On the 2nd of this month.
So, what are your clients telling you and how is this shaping your business flow?
Well, for the clients, for those who are changing their foreign currencies like their dollar to cedis, they are happy. But those who are buying the dollar for their business, they are crying because it's having a lot of pressure on their business. So that's the mixed feeling. That's basically because those who are buying to import goods, they are crying that the rate is affecting their business. But those who are changing their dollar to cedis, for them, they are happy because they are getting more money.
Well, we could understand that. But Courage, you are an economist, having to hear an operator within the Forex market tell you that the demand has, arisen and they've been selling at 6 cedis for the past month. What kind of message does it send economists like yourself?
It's a normal behavior. And you see, there are seasonal structures to currency trading or performance in even our country. The first quarter is always associated with the seasonal demand for settling letters of credit and all of those trades during the festive period of December. And when you enter the second quarter, what normally happens is that all the multinationals are repatriating their profits, and that also creates another level of pressure. And so to be under 1% depreciation at this point in time is actually a good performance of the cedi relative to the past years. Now, 6 cedis I don't think is that dreaded because on this retail market, we've been doing around 5.8 for a long time, or 5.7, 5.8 for a long time. And it's just a matter of time. Like he said, the supply-demand dynamics. Once the demand levels from people wanting FX to repatriate either as profit or people looking for money to trade, and then mind you, trade is picking up and import volumes are growing because the economy is coming back to stream. So these demand pressures are normal and will come. What matters now is where are the supply sides? The challenge has been that one major supply side player, which is the offshore investors on the market, are retreating because of development in the external market. not because of the fundamentals we have available. And into that, you can control much. And you can see that, I mean, if you observe the market over the last 3 or so weeks, the Bank of Ghana has been very heavy on the market with liquidity interventions. Well, the idea is that you want to see it through this seasonal demand pressure.
Okay.
And once we third quarter, I mean, things kind of normalize a bit.
But help us understand the prospects. So what lies the outlook of the city as we speak? Granted, most of the instruments that the BOJ has injected, as well as reforms by government, where lies the outlook?
I mean, the outlook for me, again, I mean, relative to what we've seen in times past, you won't call a 3%, 2.5% depreciation alarming, given our history of recording even up to some 30% depreciation per annum, 12%, right. 10%, 15%. You won't call it 3% alarming. So I think the city still, despite the intermittent pressures we are saying, is still relatively very stable. And we should remain so till the end of the year. We shouldn't be seeing more than 3% depreciation by end of the year.
Courage, we're so grateful for your analysis. Also grateful are we to you, our Forex operator, who joined us early on matters regarding the city. Let's now talk about the banking sector, because it continues to recover from the impact of COVID-19 as banks' pre-tax profits went up 32.1% to 3.6 billion cedis in the first half of this year. According to the Bank of Ghana, this was higher than the growth of 14% recorded during the same period last year. Charles Nixon Yeboah has more.
All the earning indicators pointed to the right direction as net interest income grew by 19.4%, higher than the 16.5% growth a year ago. Net fees and commissions also grew stronger by 19.6% compared with 10.3% growth recorded during the same period last year, reflecting a gradual recovery in trade finance related and other ancillary businesses of the banks. Operating income accordingly rose by 15.7%, marginally higher than the growth rate of 15% a year earlier. The Bank of Ghana cited the implementation of cost control measures by banks, resulting in lower operating costs as the main reason. Overall, the central bank said the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the banking industry's performance has been moderate. As evidenced by the financial soundness indicators, it pointed out that the banking sector has remained solvent, liquid, profitable and well capitalized. Despite these positive developments, non-performing loans ratio increased to 17% in June from 15.7% recorded during the same period last year. This arose partly from the COVID-19 pandemic-induced repayment challenges in some of the badly affected sectors, as well as some specific loan recovery challenges.
Now, the total value of mobile money transactions continuing to hit record levels. New Bank of Ghana data show that it reached 477 billion cedis ending June this year. But what was exactly the driving factor to this particular surge? George Yafi has the details.
The 477 billion Ghana cedis is the summation of the value of transactions recorded every month from January to June this year. The data showed that there was a significant increase each month to the end of June this year. Again, when you look at the total amount of funds lodged with commercial banks as savings, it reached 45 billion Ghana cedis, ending June this year. The development shows growing interest in these payment platforms for various financial transactions, which has been influenced by COVID-19 coming from last year. This has made it more prudent to use these platforms by businesses and individuals as they try to reduce the human contact. When you look at the mobile money interoperability ending June this year, the total value of transactions carried out on this platform has also reached 9 billion Ghana cedis as at the end of June this year. The Bank of Ghana puts the total number of active registered mobile money accounts in the country at 18.3 million, even though it has more than 44 million registered. In terms of the active agents, the Bank of Ghana puts the number at 403,000. For some, the development on these electronic platforms shows that the country might have gotten to that stage where little cash is used, especially for all government financial dealings and transactions.
You're still watching The Marketplace. Let's now talk internet, because Ghana has been ranked as a country with the fastest internet connectivity in the whole of Africa. In the latest ranking from Speedtest Global Index, Ghana is ranked 79 in the world with a high speed of 53.28 Mbps. Now, the speed which is unmatched on the African continent puts Ghana first on Africa ranking, followed by South Africa. Well, this is what you need to know. The fact that Ghana's internet speed, as I said, is around 53.25. South Africa's internet speed follows steadily with 47.32. And, you know, Ghana's push comes amid government's digitalization agenda and the reforms to aid a cashless society. But what exactly remains the impact of this index on the average Ghanaian? Let's connect with Apia Dumako on this index. He's from CATS International. We're so grateful, Apia Dumako, that you joined us. What does this reflect? Does this really reflect the buoyancy of Ghana's economy? Well, we shall try and raise Apia Dumako, but Henry Kobler, in the meantime, is a digital entrepreneur, and he's also joined us via Zoom to share his experience with internet usage in Ghana amid this index. Henry, we're grateful that you joined us. How does this reflect in your line of work? Kindly unmute your microphone so we could hear you better.
All right, thank you very much. So generally, I think that there's been that increase and that part that we feel in terms of the internet that we're using. I mean, if you're looking at the activities of users on the various digital platforms, you'd actually realize that a lot more people feel comfortable using their mobile phones on various platforms. And so that gives you the edge to understand that the connectivity sort of is a bit okay. But I think that it comes in with same as the digitalization agenda. And also in terms of people coming to the appreciation of the internet, where, I mean, people are getting to use internet on their daily basis. But I also think that the regulatory body is also doing well in terms of making sure that these telecoms that are providing us the majority of these internet are sort of on the edge to give us the value for the money, especially because internet is expensive way around in Ghana. So we could relatively be having very good internet in Ghana, but also one of the things that we're looking at is in terms of the cost, which is a bit on the high. But I think that much of this number is also coming in from the fiber broadband that we seem to be having deployed around. But in terms of using mobile around in various locations, I think that there's still more to do in terms of experiencing this sort of speed in terms of internet.
Also has the concern, as you rightly stated, that of cost, but also has been the concern of the spread of internet connectivity around the world, around the country actually. The fact that if you travel all the way up the north, you know, the issue of its reliability, its connectivity, and how fast it is remains a challenge for many entrepreneurs around the country.
Exactly. I think that's a good point because you're dealing with the internet, and the internet is global. I mean, if we're first in Africa, but we are 79th in the world, that gives you the cause to understand that we still have a way to go. Because generally, if I am having communication, much of the communication that we seem to be having, say WhatsApp call, you might possibly be using a WhatsApp call to call somebody in London. And so if the connectivity is there, better off than is here, I mean, that gives us a cause to still look into what we could do. Again, I think that apart from the cost, which is also a bit of that, I think that the competition in terms of these telecom providers should actually be also broadened, where, I mean, more private sector engagement should be had with most of these, some of the providers that would be out there to give us the services that we could use for. I mean, it gives us a better point because internet now becomes the way to go. Mobile money transactions and all that are happening, and you need that connectivity to get it running to achieve that agenda that the government is trying to push.
Henry, many thanks for your time. He's the founder of Eyes of Africa, as well as a digital entrepreneur on matters regarding Ghana's internet speed, ranking first in Africa. Now to our big interview. The Vice President of Liberia, Mrs. Jo Howard Taylor, has lauded Ghana's economic credentials, stating more information sharing and investment channels are being established between Ghana and Liberia to boost bilateral trade. She sat with Odila and Tiamoa on the prospects for trade and entrepreneurship.
To the end of where you are, things have actually changed. And so she has remained till today the face of Africa that is considered the strong iron lady that they call her, that she proved what it was, what it took to transform. And that can be related to family setting, community setting, business setting. The traits that she lived and that we saw has inspired me to be the strong female politician that I am today. So her work has actually enabled me to become a stronger person in stepping and doing those things that I believe are necessary for the continuing transformation that our country is undergoing.
Yeah, I want to find out from you, there's currently some data that indicates that Liberia, when it comes to countries relating to gender equality, hasn't closed up the gap so much. I want to find out how your vice presidential role, Madame Sirleaf's presidential role as two strong women is actually helping in sort of putting this behind Liberia.
And it's a process. You know, a few years ago, Hillary Clinton was running for president. And I believe all of the women around the world were hoping that she would have gotten elected. And though she won the popular vote, like they say in America, she didn't become president.
Yeah.
I was so distraught, I didn't even know what to do. And then I had a conversation with Madame Sirleaf about it. And she said to me, Jewel, this is a process. And sometimes it takes a lifetime. Sometimes you don't even see the work that you do. Maybe your grandchildren will see the end result. So it's a process. But you know, when we got the first female democratically elected president on the face of Africa, can you imagine how excited women were across the world that this was indeed possible? Her 12 years opened new doors,
Yes.
provided an environment where women begin to think, hey, we're important, we have a voice. She tried to change the dynamics. She put in place some new laws. She had everyone involved from the community level. For the first time in my country, you would go to a meeting in a constituency, and the women would be there. They would speak. They were no longer afraid. Because you know, from our traditional backgrounds, women didn't speak. If you were even allowed to sit in the meeting, you had to be quiet. And once your husband or your father spoke, forget it, that was it.
Yeah, they spoke for everybody.
They spoke for everybody, regardless of the fact that the issues they raised were not the issues that solved the problems that we had.
Yeah.
So you just go and struggle and continue to struggle. And so when you look at the gender gap, and it's still a very large gap, but if you visit any elementary school across Africa and you ask little girls what you want to be, some of them will say, I want to be president.
And we'll have more of this interview in a subsequent bulletin. But before we leave, the Regional Director of the World Food Programme for West and Central Africa, Chris Nkoy, has disclosed that millions of families in West Africa as well as Central Africa are currently hungry due to high food prices. He said more than 31 million people in these regions are expected to be food insecure and unable to feed themselves from June to August, which is normally characterized as a lean season. There is more.
Regional Director of the World Food Programme for West and Central Africa, Chris Nkoy, said Cardiff Harmonize, a joint food security analyst, shows that the number is more than 30% higher than last year and the highest in a decade. Speaking at the handing over ceremony of silos to small farmers in Tamale, Mr. Nkoy said conflict, hunger, high food prices, and reduced income as a result of negative impact of COVID-19 are some of the reasons for these hikes.
According to the Cardiff Harmonize, a joint food security analysis, the number is more than 30% higher than it was last year, and it is the highest level in a decade, in 10 years. Factors which have contributed to this situation include conflict, hunger, high food prices, and reduced incomes as a result of the negative impact of COVID-19 on trade, tourism, informal activities, and also remittances. I believe that Ghana has the potential to become the breadbasket for the West and Central Africa region if efforts to improve its food systems, such as some of the initiatives that WFP and government have begun, are sustained. Let me use this occasion to encourage all stakeholders in the food security and nutrition sector to increase collaboration and to build synergy for more effective delivery. To our farmers, I would like to...
Of course, that's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. My name is Charles Ayete. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Many thanks once again for your time. Enjoy the rest of our programs.